Okay, so I just shared the O3 template with you.
Okay. Thank you.
There we go. So that again shows a log of your previous action steps and then your most recent one. So your most recent one is to monitor the quality of student work during independent practice.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you positively seen this impact in both your instruction and student learning?
Okay, so as I've been circulating the room to look at their independent practice, like as I mark up their papers, that I'm seeing like correct terms, like especially like if it's a short answer response, I'll go and I'll circle the key terms and put a check over it for them using the specific key terms. Like if they were explaining sediments or like weathering and erosion, and they discussed the sediments and the particles, they got circles and checks for those.
So I'm hearing you say you have a system.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like it's just, I think it's a system.
Because I heard you say circle. What else is that?
Circle and checks. And then it's like if they're not using the correct terms, then I circle the word and I'll put a dot over it and I'll tell them what term does this mean, so that they would have to actually go back and use the term.
Okay.
For the vocabulary. It's made their answers better. It really has. It's just because it's more detailed, right? And when they're like the detail is actually explaining the question that's being asked. Like they're not giving me the whole kitchen sink, trying to just like give me all answers and going, okay, soil is everything, or even like talking about like different layers, or even when they're talking about like the transformations of different rocks. They're just sticking to the question and actually answering just that question.
And what has been the impact on like your exit tickets, quizzes, stuff like that?
The exit ticket scores have been higher.
Why?
Because they're better learners. I don't know, like maybe I'm doing a better job finally.
So in the past, you've always been somebody who responds to exit ticket data.
Yeah.
But what is the purpose of aggressively monitoring?
I aggressively monitor so I don't have to really reteach portions of lessons. So then I like things that they already know. I know I can spiral it back in, and they'll be able to re-answer those same types of questions. The questions that they do not do well in are the ones that I reteach, or if I don't reteach it, I make sure I bring it back up as illicit or engages, so that they're hearing the responses from other students, so that it kind of sticks to them, and then I'll re-ask the question later on.
Are you finding that you have to do as much reteach?
No.
So in the past, what you would do is wait until the exit ticket and then reteach. But now you're addressing things before the exit ticket.
Yeah.
And you've not walked into my office lately and said, I gotta reteach their exit tickets. The purpose of aggressive monitoring is to, is what?
Aggressively monitoring so that you don't have to work as hard to try to get them to learn the objective that it was given.
Right. Good. Great. So what we're going to do today is dive into something that we have been working on. We're going to dive into, again, consistently preparing for and executing aggressive monitoring, or Aggmo as Jay likes to call it. So this is something that we've talked about before, and I know you know the components, but today I'm naming that it must be done every single day.
Okay.
This is an everyday type of thing. So I know you know this stuff, and I want you to tell me what is the model for aggressive monitoring. So step one, how should a person prepare for aggressive monitoring? I'm going to take notes on what you say.
Okay. So I started calling out what I was looking for.
So that's execution, but like, what do you even do before class starts? What do you have to do?
My first loops of my do now, when they start, so I can see whether or not they're understanding the questions that are being asked, because they're pretty much questions that are going to be spiraled out through the whole lesson.
What do you put into your plan in order to be prepared? Like before the kiddos even come, what are you making notes of? What are you doing?
I don't understand the question.
So, for example, we've been working on writing exemplars. Why is writing an exemplar important for aggressive monitoring?
So you know what you're looking for in the answer and the response. And that if the response isn't the one that is given, then you know what action steps you have to take in order for the students to get that learning thought or that process for the question being asked.
Right, so writing exemplars is actually a part of preparing for aggressive monitoring. You don't know what you're monitoring for unless you're doing that. You just named that.
Okay.
Another thing that we did, remember last week in our O3 we put in the loops that you're going to do?
Yeah, we wrote down. But more specifically, we're talking about me calling out the shots of what I was looking for so that the students were more aware of this is what they needed to write.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to going, okay, this is my first check to see, or not even telling them to see. It's like, okay, I'm coming around in 1 minute to check on your work. It's like you told them what you were checking for. So like if you were talking about soil and worms, for example, you said, okay, my first check is I'm checking to see whether or not it's hurting or helping the soil by taking out the worms. And then it's like after you've done your first check, okay, second check coming up, checking on how earthworms help the soil.
Right, that's another execution thing. Which is perfect. You're right, calling the shots.
Oh, okay.
I want to go and emphasize the preparation part. So I put in some more bullets here. And these are things that you do. I just think you're taking for granted that these are parts of aggressive monitoring.
Is that really aggressive monitoring, or is that,
Is what?
like, I don't really consider that aggressive monitoring.
Why?
Like, because it's like even when you're predetermining the key language that you need in order for the students to respond, that's just preparation, not monitoring. Like, it's
right, but you
like,
can't monitor until you do this part. Otherwise, like, this is the planning for what you're going to monitor. You already do this.
okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. But I didn't even think that was. I just thought that's.
What would be the impact if you went into class and you didn't know which questions you were monitoring?
The kids would just answer questions offhand and just put in answers for what they felt the response would be, and probably would not even have the correct answers because they would just be putting everything that they would know. Like if we were talking about rocks, they'd just be like, oh, all the processes of everything that we do is rocks, and just
What would be the impact
just
on you?
run-ons.
Say it's independent practice and you haven't predetermined what questions you're going to go over. What's the impact?
I would just be working 10 times harder trying to like figure out what it is that they needed, especially if I didn't know where to pinpoint the actual necessity for the work that they needed to give me.
Great. And it might cause you to miss things and have to reteach the exit ticket and all that stuff that we talked about before. So don't take these steps for granted.
Okay.
Now, execution for Aggmo, you've named a lot of these. The first thing I heard you say was call your shots.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean?
Just naming what it is that you're looking for, just so that they're aware of what it is that you're seeing, like what they're being graded on, so that they know, like, okay, I need to answer for this particular portion. No, I don't need to add this. She just wants to know the answer for this question. It's yes or no.
Okay.
Okay, now what's the explain behind that? Make sure that you're restating the question in order for me to see that you understand the response that you're giving.
Okay. What else are you doing during when you're aggressive monitoring?
While marking up their papers. And then you'll have the kids that, like, as soon as they got it wrong, they're like, wait, come back. I have the right answer now. And you're just like, no, that's my third loop.
Okay, so you're circulating
Mm-hmm.
in different loops.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Who do you go to first?
I start off with the front portion of my desk, so then it's like, so I could sneak around. So then by the time I get to the last row, it's easier for me to just walk from the last row all the way out back to my podium where the dot cam is.
Okay, so you complete like a procedural loop to make sure all students are hit. Why not go to the fastest writers first?
I never even thought about that.
What would be the impact of going to the fastest writers first?
The fastest writers wouldn't be concentrating on actually giving me correct answers. So half the time, like they would just feel like I'm done, so I'm just gonna be finished here and not complete it to the fullest of their ability.
So
Just because they're using speed doesn't mean that they're actually getting corrected.
Right, so what's the impact of checking them first?
You know, some of my fastest writers are the hyperactive ones, so I usually don't check them first because of the fact that I want them to keep concentrating on their papers.
So let's go back to what is the purpose of aggressive monitoring?
I aggressive monitor just to make sure that they're hitting all objectives, so then I don't have to it's making it easier on me, just not having to teach the concept 6 different ways if I can just do it the first way, the right way, the first time.
Right, so what do you think would be powerful about going to your fastest writers first?
I don't know.
Do you want them to keep writing if they're not getting it right?
No, but they should be able to wait their turn like everyone else. So, like I have everyone seated as high, low, so that you have students that are low could be helped by those that are higher. But I never look for speed. I look for more for efficiency than anything else.
Mm-hmm. I think if you're looking for the fastest writers first, if the fastest writers aren't getting it right, what does that tell you?
That the slowest writers aren't going to get it right either.
So what should you do? What would you do in that situation in your class?
I usually just stop them all together and go back towards the front and reread the question out loud for them. And then I go and I ask them, what words should we underline to tell us what should we be answering for?
Right, you have the right instincts. Whenever you see that like kids aren't getting it, you're like, wait a second, like let's go back to the front. So by looking at your fastest writers first, you're going to be able to see like, okay, these are my quick kids, and if they're not getting it, like I need to really think about things. So I would push you to, you're really great at procedural loop, but like even and it's great that you're able to see the whole class, but start thinking about like, as like a quick spot check, let me go check at my fastest writers first. Just kind of see like, are they getting it? All right, okay, so I can do my whole loop. If they're not getting it, there's an issue. One thing that I noticed you caught yourself last week when I was observing, this is the last part I want to talk about for execution of aggressive monitoring, is paper in hand. So I saw you, you're making a face, what do you think?
No, paper in hand. No, I'm trying to think of what you're talking about. Okay. No, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, so you were like back, I was sitting by Johnny that day and you came back. I wish I had a video, I caught it right after. But, so you're like walking around circulating, marking up their papers, and you're like, wait a second. And you went back to the front and got your paper, and we're looking at your answers while you were going around. So why is it important to have that paper in hand?
Well, the paper in hand was so I can because it's like just to make sure that they're writing the correct answer that I was looking for. And then it was just like at the same time, it was like, because they might not put it in the same order that I've written it, but if they have like the main ideas and are able to execute the response, it's still a correct answer. Like even if it's not even about their order, especially the question wasn't about the order of the answer.
It's just to make sure they have all the components.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't had that paper, it would probably have been tricky to remember that. Awesome. Right, so those are the main components of aggressive monitor and collecting data as you circulate. that thing that Jay had last week in PD where it was like the stoplights and it had green is like 90% of the kids, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
And all the different things. I think you're the best at that with your instincts. Like, for example, when I just said, what if your fast kids aren't getting it? You're like, oh, I would stop the whole class. And we would have to go back and I'd model the question. But collecting data as you circulate is a great way to know, like, where the kids are at. So I want you to click on that link that says Other Action.
Okay.
You've seen this before, yes?
Mhm.
And I want you to go through and rate yourself. Right here, you're going to put a 1 for effective or a 0 for not yet. And this is every day. So
Mhm.
be honest, this is our long-term project.
Is it letting me click anything in? No.
What?
Mm-mm.
WTF?
Because I only have view only.
Oh, right.
So can I just say it out loud and then
Yeah, but
you
I
click
want
on
you to
it?
be able to do it. Dun, 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 dun. Try now. I think I fixed it. Yes. This is every day.
Yeah. I don't ever write them down. I do include what the misconception is.
Number 16. Needy Morse, be honest.
I wasn't going to put 1 for that one.
You're getting better. I saw you smile at a kid last week.
That's so sad.
I'm kidding.
That's
They
so
know you
sad.
love
I
them.
know.
Yeah, I would say this bottom part is your strongest area,
Yeah.
knowing if there's an area. So, do you have an annotated classwork in your room every single day?
Yeah.
Or do you have one today?
Yeah.
Where is it?
In my room.
Is it in the little bin?
No, it's on my desk.
Okay. In future,
Leave it in the bin?
yeah.
Okay.
So that way it's easier for me to come in when I'm observing, like see like
Just
what are
to
you
grab
looking
it.
for. Because also like one of the things I like to do in some classes is take the little notes on what they're aggressively monitored and like do some aggressive monitoring myself just to kind of see and get a feel for the lesson and how it's going. So what do you think? I'm gonna let you determine your own action step related to aggressive monitoring this week. So what do you think is your biggest gap right now? You can take some time.
Well, my biggest gap is, like, it's just like, I go and I note what misconceptions are, but I don't write down the highest leverage of the misconception. I know I don't do that.
What do you mean?
Like, if I have certain questions like I'll have a note to self that won't be on the actual annotated packet of like my Post-its, me and my Post-its, right? So I'll have like a Post-it note on the side for myself to remember like different misconceptions that they might see or that they might respond back towards. And those are the ones that, like, I know that those are the quick fixes that I have to make.
Okay.
But I never write them in my annotated packet.
Okay. So I think that's even like a quick fix. Note, say.
Like, and it's like, and those are notes that I like, even after the fact, like when I'm done for the day, like with that packet, I'll go and I'll write the notes to myself on there for I know for future. Okay, so, for future, like, okay, this is where kids had more trouble, so I know how to fix that later.
So based on like gap years identified, what is your action step going to be the next week?
Maybe writing in those actual misconceptions.
Right. And I heard you say earlier high leverage misconceptions. I liked that language. High leverage misconceptions. Into the packet. That's a quick fix. Give me a juicy one, Morse.
All right. I don't ever include specific scholars to target during the class. I just like I'll do like cold calls where I just like call on specific students based on the answers that they gave, and sometimes like I'll even call on the students that gave halfway right answers so that as a class they can fix the portions that weren't correct. So then every scholar is actually hearing what the correct answer would be, and then it's like then we write it together, so that they have like, okay, this is what.
So who would you like to target?
Depends on the class. 'Cause it's like, for example, it's like in Spelman you'll have like Jerion. Jerion will have like the partial correct answer, and in order for him to get a fully correct answer, he's one of those that he needs to hear what the answer is, right? And then he'll rewrite down what it is specifically in order for him to remember for future.
So students with partial answers?
Yeah, with partial answers.
So what is your action step?
So it's like, so what I do is like with partial answers, like if they have like half the answer correct but the other half is wrong, right away we'll stick to what's correct, and we're like, okay, like now cross out that part. Can anybody tell me what we need to add in order to make that a better answer?
Okay. I like that.
And that usually works for them. Like it's like, especially for like for audio learners, like they work well with that, and then it's like then they see the visual of me writing down like the partial, okay, this is the part that's good, okay, this is the great part, now let's make it better.
Okay.
And then that usually helps them.
So you're gonna target the students with partial answers?
Like I target the
ones.
I
never know if I'm hearing it right, if I'm hearing it
No,
right.
I target with partial answers, right? Then I call on those that have like the full answer, like the correct all the way through. Like, and those are the ones I'm like, okay, how do I make this better? And then they're the ones that like actually like teach the concept. So it's
when
like
reviewing the questions, you want to call?
Yeah.
Okay, so target students with partial answers when reviewing questions. Okay.
So I guess I go from low to high, and then it's like then ask other students that like might have been in between. Is there anything that we need to add extra?
Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing I want you to focus on, I'm going to tell you one. You're going to do 3 in 1 week.
Okay. And I don't make a timer visual. I gotta do that. That's a quick one.
Big thing I want you to do is collect data on your paper when you circulate.
Okay.
Sometimes you go over questions that the whole class got right. You're in a situation now in which kids are very successful in your class. You're doing a kick-ass job. Wish I wouldn't have just cursed on a video.
You can edit.
Yeah. And so you don't need to review every question.
Yeah.
Like, you might just need to review it because they all got it. That's a good thing. You can save some time by not going over all of that. Alright, so pull out your packet for tomorrow.
Okay. Scavenger hunt. Boom.
And you said this week your action steps were going to be to write in the high leverage misconceptions into the packet,
Mm-hmm.
to target students with partial answers and reviewing questions. So I guess this is, I'm going to divide this up. This write in high leverage misconceptions, this is a preparation thing.
Okay.
This is an execution. This target students. So is this. So in your packet tomorrow, go in and write in those misconceptions. Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah, because tomorrow's lesson is all computer.
That doesn't mean they're not going to have misconceptions though.
I know they're not. I'm not saying that they won't.
Alright, it's 11:30.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna cut you off from your typing, sorry.
Okay.
What will be the impact of knowing these misconceptions already going into tomorrow?
It's just gonna make it easier for me to pinpoint where they're veering off the path and trying to get them right to the objective, or right towards the correct answer as opposed to the wrong answer.
Great. Go back to our O3 template and I want you to read those action steps for this week so we can stamp it.
Okay.
And I highlighted one for emphasis. So what are your action steps for this next week?
All right, so
You named 2 and I named 1.
all right, so write in the high leverage misconceptions into the packet and target students with partial answers when reviewing questions. And the execution is to collect data on your paper when you circulate.
I'm gonna come in tomorrow.
And you just want to see my written
And I'm going to complete a scorecard like you just did and send you some feedback. Thanks, Morse 3.
Okay. I'll even try to put positive words